Hello, Cohort 1. I'm excited to work with you again this fall. I'll be teaching the Scholarly Practitioner course, and John will be teaching the Leadership Styles and Change Management course. So I just wanted to take some time to walk you through how I've set this course up and kind of what some of your key assignments are. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is when you go into the class, obviously, you know, I use the announcements frequently. So the announcements is really where I'll put all of our key communication, because you should also get an email alert as well. So you'll see the first announcement is already there. But I want to bring your attention over to the fall schedule button. This fall schedule button kind of gives you an overview of both classes together. So we're taking an alternating approach to the course so that although you have things due every week, you don't have two different sets of assignments due every week. So you can see the blue bars are for John's class, Leadership Theory and Change Management, and the peach-colored bars are for this course, which is the Scholarly Practitioner. And, you know, of course, you know, things may change a little bit here and there, but by and large, you should be able to follow this schedule. So you can see kind of when all of the due dates are. We have most of our module assignments due on Monday night. Sometimes there's pieces of them that are due earlier. So, you know, I kind of built that in when that was applicable. Excuse me. And then also we will have some webinars. So we already have one scheduled with Deb Bragg on October 30th. There are a couple other, like these are just placeholders. This is not the date that necessarily that Carlos will be presenting, but we have gotten commitments from Carlos and Navarez, who's the author of one of your leadership theory and change management books, and also Chris Schultz, who is one of our advisory board members, and many of you probably interacted with him at the Community College Showcase. I also have one or two other feelers out. So we'll probably have, you know, approximately 4 to 5 Zoom synchronous meetings that we'll plug into the calendar and hope that you're able to do. We'll try to do those mostly in the evening, unless it doesn't work for someone's schedule. Then we'll do it at the best time we can and ask that as many of you as possible can join us live. John and I may also do a couple of these kind of on demand, you know, videos, or we may hold some like open either live office hours or, you know, kind of conversational opportunities via Zoom and things of that nature. So just be aware if that happens, we'll plug them into the calendar and we'll, you know, I'll be communicating those through announcements. Okay, so the way that I set the course up is you can access the syllabus here, and we'll go ahead and I'll jump into that in a moment. But all of the assignments, I really just kind of put everything under this assignment tab. So I hope that this makes sense. I think you all know I'm not the biggest fan of Blackboard, but I'm trying to make it work for me and for you as best as it can. So I tried to just, instead of having folders, because I saw some of you were getting lost in the folders, I just kind of went straight up this way where you have everything that you need. So, you know, some of these are just kind of items, which isn't really you know, this is like an activity or a task for you to do, whereas others are going to be discussions. The little push pin one, or those are a couple of discussion boards that you'll be participating in. And then there's also some assignments. So this icon means it's an assignment that you'll submit. So you can kind of just get an overall, you know, view of what you'll be doing. And I broke mine down into 6 main modules that are, you know, kind of all connected. So hopefully you see the rationale behind all of that. But I'm going to go to the syllabus now so we can just review that together. You know, I think it's always important to have a sense of, you know, what this class is all about. And actually, I think I already have it open, so I'll just do it this way. Okay, so that should be opening in just a moment. Yes. Okay, so you know, clearly the most important part of the syllabus is really what you're going to be learning. I know students like to jump over to what do you have to do, but I'm going to strongly encourage you to spend some time really thinking about what are we trying to accomplish in this class and how does it fit into the overall program learning goals. So when you look at the learning outcomes, you can see that this course really is a foundational course for the program in many ways, because being a scholarly practitioner is our goal of helping you. Many of you are already engaged in scholarship, but this is a deeper way to do the dissertation and the doctoral journey with us. You know, what does it mean to be a scholarly practitioner? So I think you'll definitely get to understand that, and our focus is always going to be on the equity and social justice issues in the community college setting. So looking at our student learning outcomes, you'll get to utilize data and professional experiences. And this is an important part because I'm going to be asking you to bridge some of the practical knowledge that you're going to gather through things like empathy interviews, and combine that with what the literature says and what the more traditional research says. So we really want you to merge those kinds of pieces of information to better understand what kinds of problems are facing community colleges today, especially as they relate to equity and social justice. Then you'll also be able to determine what kind of evidence is needed to assess the effectiveness of either current or future practices. So, for instance, you might be identifying a solution, an area. In fact, by the end of the semester, we do want you to have kind of a defined, at least a working research question for your dissertation. And through the process that you'll engage in, you'll definitely be able to do that. And you're not going to have all the evidence. So you'll also be figuring out what more do you need in order to better know what is and isn't working today, tomorrow, in the future. Evaluating the literature with a practice lens is going to be really critical, and then sharing summaries of the research and theory to different kinds of stakeholder audiences in a contextualized manner is really important. So you'll see one of the signature assignments of the semester is going to be a blog where you're synthesizing the materials that you've gathered all semester, so that it's accessible to the audience. And many of the readings that we do are going to really emphasize the importance of being a public scholar. And then the last learning outcome has to do with the dissertation, a little bit more personal for you. Do you have an action plan, and have you narrowed your focus? You don't need to be all crystal clear about it by December, but we certainly think that those who have a clearer path by the end of this semester, it's going to be easier as you move into the next class, Educational Research 1, for you to be a little more defined with your dissertation goal. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll through this. I'm not going to go through all this information, but there are the books. And I'll tell you this Envisioning Public Scholarship book, I really love this book. I think it kind of just resonated with me, so I hope that you enjoy reading that too. The other book, The Craft of Research, is just a great writing and research guide. So some of you are stronger than others in this space. Obviously, if you're teaching writing, you may have used this book or others that you may even have as favorites. But I think you'll find that that's a really good book. In fact, as I was reading it, I was like, oh, I've been doing a lot of writing, but I probably can step up my game quite a bit by following some of the tips in there. So hopefully you'll find that to be the case too. And then this other book is just great in terms of giving you some ideas of some of the current issues and trends in community colleges today. It's a hot off the press book that they were heavily publicizing during the League of Innovations conference, and I got my hands on it and did some reading, and I think it is worth the read, but I only made it a suggested book, so you don't have to. Unfortunately, these books are not available via ebook in the library, so you're going to have to either see if you can access them through your own college's library, or if if they're actually not too expensive. I think I bought The Craft of Research for like $15, and that would definitely be a good resource for you to have that you might want in a traditional format. Okay, so this information about my teaching philosophy and how online learning works, resources, policy information is all the same as the summer. So I don't want to minimize or devalue any of this, but you've seen this before. If you have any questions, let me know. So I want to dive into now the, kind of core and the meat of it that I know you're most interested in. So you can see here, this is how you'll be graded through a variety of different kinds of things. So we'll have a couple of discussions, but a lot of this work is going to be a little more independent because your research journey will likely be more independent. Although I am interested in hearing more about whether or not, who's interested in what type of dissertation option. So we can try to, focus you down that path as well. So here, all of the modules are kind of outlined for you with the readings and the assignments all spelled out and what the objective of each module is. So you can take a look at that. And then as you move along here, you're going to see that the assignment details that are listed here hopefully give you more clarity on what it is that you'll need to do for each of these activities. And this is also all spelled out in Blackboard under that assignments tab. And I may, as the semester goes on, I may add some additional resources there as well. So make sure that you're, taking advantage of all the readings and links that I provided you with, so that you have the background knowledge that you need, and then you'll go ahead and jump into the different activities. So real quickly, this first one, Module 1, the whole class discussion, you know what, I think I'm going to actually bounce over to Blackboard just for these, because that way you can see the module. I kind of called it Module 1. This discussion is really an opportunity for you to establish some foundational knowledge in the key concepts of public scholarship. So that's kind of the primary point there, and you'll engage in that dialogue, and I hope that you find that interesting. So there's the 3 parts of the discussion that I'm going to ask that you participate in. That'll be a whole group discussion, so I know it's a lot of reading of what your peers are saying, but I think that for this foundational conversation, it's kind of critical that we're all kind of hearing different voices and perspectives. The second part is you will all be choosing a chapter between 4 and 11 to work in a small group to do a presentation. So instead of having you all read chapters 4 to 11, I'm dividing and conquering to have you kind of teach, the class kind of some of the key takeaways of those articles. And again, it strengthens your ability to have some foundational knowledge in this concept of public scholarship. So I would encourage you, so when you click on this, one of the things that you'll want to do is you'll see that the chapter titles are here. You want to go and claim your chapter. So basically, whichever one you're interested in, click reply, say, I want that one. And what'll happen is the first 3 people who claim it get it. So if 3 people have already claimed it, please don't put your name on there, because all I'm going to do is email you and say you can't do that one. So just go and find a different chapter. And then the people who responded are the folks that would be working collaboratively with you. So, and then you'll get to see all the other presentations, and you'll see, part 2 of that is for you to, make a couple of comments and reactions to the presentations of your classmate group. So you'll have 7 other groups to respond to. Okay, Module 3 is where we really start to do the deeper dive into your problem of practice. So I'll probably have a couple, either Zoom or, one-way on-demand webinar talking about problem of practice. Most likely it'll be a Zoom interactive conversation where we just kind of talk through some of this. You and I will also do that during our individual interviews. I provided you with a resource there that might be helpful. And the idea here is that you're going to start this journey on the ground in practice. So let's just say, for instance, you identified a problem of practice that academic advising is broken. We don't, provide students with enough guidance and opportunity to explore career options. Let's just, obviously that's not super defined, but generally speaking, you would be then identifying folks to do empathy interviews with. You might want to interview students and hear about their advising experiences. You might want to interview advisors. Maybe there's different types of advisors, professional advisors, faculty advisors. Perhaps you want to get the administrative lens on it. The idea here is that you would be crafting some questions to ask these folks and identifying the best people to give you perspective. So I know that some of you are already off and running and you have an idea about how to fix the world and you want to jump down there. I'm asking you to stop and relax and just really focus on getting the, really being empathic to what the user experiences are like and what the professionals who are working in this area are saying. So you're going to be primarily in listening mode. You're going to get them to tell you stories. You're going to get them to give examples of things. So you'll see I provided you with some information here and a couple of links that might be useful to you in this, and you're going to use your network. So maybe you don't know people or who the right people are to interview. This is where you're going to tap into your colleagues. You're going to talk to John and myself, and we're going to help you figure out who the best people are to interview. I think this is going to be kind of a key experience in this course, and I want you to do 4 of these, but if you want to do more, more the merrier. I mean, this is a really important part of the process. So it's going to help you gain that deeper understanding of the practitioner and on the ground perspective of the issues. So that's really the practice information gathering that you're doing. Then you're going to move into the literature. This is much more traditional, research that you'll be doing. And I'm asking you to do an annotated bibliography of 10 sources, and then to take 2 of those sources and do a deeper dive where you're writing a more extensive research summary and critique on each article. So the templates for both of these, for the empathy interview is right there, and the template for the annotated bibliography is right there. So make sure you take advantage of looking at those before you get started. And you shouldn't start the empathy interviews or the research summaries until you and I have had our individual conversation to make sure we're all on the same page with the direction that you're heading. If you need any help with that, let me know. This shouldn't be an overly complex task, but it's probably going to be a pretty time-consuming task. And you will probably read more than 10 articles in order to get this done because you want to pick the 10 articles that you think are going to add value to you in this journey. So make sure you, choose wisely, work with the librarians, reach out to me or your colleagues to get assistance as needed. So then this other signature event is for you to take all that information you gathered through the empathy interviews, through the literature review that you did so far, and you're going to create a blog. And I intentionally chose a blog versus a traditional paper because as you'll discover from reading the public scholarship book, it's really about ensuring that your work is accessible to others. So, and I think writing succinctly is an important skill. Quite frankly, most practitioners and on-the-ground folks have very little time to be diving into research, no matter how interesting it is. There's just not enough hours in the day. So they're going to instead be looking for quick bits of information. And one of the tasks that you'll have throughout the doctoral program is, how do I take this complex, huge body of research and bring it into a small, usable document that's going to help my colleagues. So you're going to get your first stab at doing that with this blog opportunity. And you will also be critiquing a partner's blog. So you can see I have the partner assignments down at the bottom. You'll do that. You'll kind of set up like a Blackboard Collaborate meeting, but you're also going to do that in writing. So your grade for this blog and critique is both about your blog and the critique that you did for the other person. So your critique needs to be supportive and but not all positive, like you certainly want to provide some constructive ideas. So it's a critique, it's not just like, yay, I know you folks like to support each other, but you also want to support each other by challenging one another. So you're going to ask them questions, you're going to get them thinking more deeply at it so that their next blog is even a stronger one. And they'll actually get to use your feedback to strengthen their final blog. And you will too, from the feedback you receive from your peer. And I'm not grading the draft, I'm only grading the final blog. So really get in there and support your partner. And I think that this will be an interesting activity for us to do. And then last but not least, this is the part that's the least developed. I'm still working on this. As you know, we're building and flying planes at the same time here. But I do want you to kind of have a sense of where you're headed with the dissertation. And most importantly, I want you to have a working research question. So I'm probably, at this point, this is the draft of what I'm looking for you to write up. Doesn't need to be, super long document. In fact, I think it needs to be more focused. But hopefully this gives you a sense of the kinds of activities you'll be doing throughout the semester. And if you have any questions along the way, I'm just a phone call or a text or an email away. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, the more, if you want to go above and beyond what we've done here, doing more empathy interviews, doing more annotated bibliographies, by all means, go ahead, go for it. The more you do now, the easier the road will be as you travel it through the next few semesters to the graduation line. All right, so I think we are ready for the fun to begin. All right, take care.